Initially, we held meetings with Woven and the Children's Art School. We pulled together ideas on what would be a really good initiative to get children involved in the arts and relating to textiles. And the idea that came out of it was to have the Future Fashion Challenge, and we felt that was accessible to all children. All teachers could take part in it, and there was enough to go at to get something really exciting and individual from every participant, and each school could take a different angle on the idea.
I wanted the children to feel part of something that was what I felt was going to be a really important part of Kirklees. I wanted to open their eyes to further possibilities and to see what was available out there in terms of future careers. And it just seemed a really important time for children to come together with children from all over the local authority and take part in what was going to be a really exciting creative opportunity. I work with some young children. Our children are 2 to 7 years old, and I think the way the Future Challenge was designed was very open-ended and allowed the children to come engaged at their own level and investigate and open interpretation up, and to really excite and infuse their imaginations and be able to do something just as important and as celebratory as older children could do.
So once we'd come up with the idea, we then held our teacher CPD at Huddersfield University, where we brought all our schools that wanted to be involved together, and we learnt from the university lecturers, and artists were brought in as well, where we had workshops. And it was just absolutely thrilling and exciting to see the ideas that they could offer us. The facilities that they had there were amazing, and the workshops all had a different angle so that teachers could explore ideas and take away different angles for how they would then develop the project back in school.
I think it allowed the teachers' imagination to run riot. We've got some really talented staff at school. We've got one teacher's very good at sewing, another's very good at DT and craft, and it allowed them to explore their own skills with the children and the families on a different level, and to just have fun alongside. And I think it allowed everybody to look at textiles in a way that perhaps we hadn't considered as a school before. I think if you spoke to the staff, they would say it was a really valuable and really exciting opportunity. But I think the university staff were really skilled at showing their techniques, but bringing it down to what could be used in the classroom. And that really infused the teachers. One so much so that by the next morning, she'd done a crib sheet for other staff saying, these are the things that we saw last night, and you can put these into practice straight away. So I think that's full testament to the university staff to be able to do that. We ran our project in a slightly different way. We did it as a children and families project back in school, and I think taking part in that way with the staff was really interesting. It allowed a bond with the parents that you get only from doing something outside the normal school day.
Once the teachers had lots of ideas, we then got together with, again, the Children's Art School, and we had a resource session where we looked at lots of different materials. We pulled together the most bizarre object and created the beginnings of costumes and ideas with artists who were showing us the way forward. And we just saw all these exciting possibilities of what you could do with old bits of junk. The teachers were totally inspired by the artists' input. And when the artists turned up in schools, we were then able to use those ideas with the pupils and look at things in a different way, to think about how a bit of plastic could be turned into a hat, or how to construct tiny little elements of cogs, wheels, bits of fabric, old foam, and construct that into a dress, a hat, something that could be worn. The children were beginning to look at objects in a new way and develop that into designing and planning and making. So there were lots of challenges that came about through looking at the objects, because we weren't provided with fabric or what you would expect children to use to make costumes. It generally was found scrap materials, and the children had to be innovative in the way that they constructed costumes.
I think it opened up their imaginations totally. We saw through the journey of the clubs, them coming from quite a limited ideas about what they could do at the beginning, but their imaginations opening up throughout the weeks. And they were really testing their own skills of ingenuity and testing ours actually by the end, the things that they were coming up with of what they could use and how could they do it. And we needed to learn alongside them, which was a really nice opportunity. I think they enjoyed the making sessions, and then doing it out of the school day allowed them to have a little bit of a different relationship with the teachers. They loved having the parents working alongside them. It was a really positive atmosphere throughout all of it, and they were so super proud of the finished products. They were beyond the dreams really of what they thought at the beginning of the sessions. I think going to the university was huge for the children. They really enjoyed it, and I think being alongside other children gave them such a buzz of excitement and a really new experience that they hadn't had before. And I should tell you this one story. One child was so proud of the product that they designed that they asked for it back at the end a few months later so they could wear it for their birthday party. So she dressed in a mermaid outfit made out of her mum's old scarves and lots of knickknacks for her birthday party because she was so proud of it.
The whole experience of going to the fashion show was amazing. The children, of course, were nervous. They were excited and buzzing, but at the same time had some apprehension as to putting themselves out there. The children that we took were at the top end of junior school, so they already have this idea of how they want people to perceive them in the world, and they were exposing themselves on the fashion show in a different way to how you would normally see them. So for some children that was a really good chance to be flamboyant and walk down the catwalk with flair, but for the children, we had shy children who really came out of themselves and put themselves out there in a way that we haven't seen before. So we were thrilled to see that element of the children's personalities coming through in front of a whole audience. There was a real buzz in the dressing room, putting on makeup, putting on the costumes, quick fire, getting changed because we didn't have long to get downstairs before we were on stage. And then there was, of course, the buzz of backstage, which is a very different experience for anyone who's not a performer. So they were really engaged with that whole bustle and busyness and lining up, getting ready to just be the person who emerged onto the stage. They absolutely loved it. They were thrilled. They just walked down with pure confidence and passion, posed, held the costume out for the audience and did their twirl.
I think going to Huddersfield University was a completely new experience for a lot of our families. I think they saw the possibilities for their own children, maybe extended their ideas of what the children could be involved in the future and what they could aspire to. And there was immense pride as the children walked down the catwalk. I don't think any of us could believe quite how brave those children could be in a dark hall full of spotlights. To see our 2 to 7-year-olds walking down the catwalk was absolutely amazing, and I think the parents were beside themselves. I'll never forget the smiles on their faces. It was a moment of joy for us all, and it was such a community event, and there was so much positivity within the room, and the atmosphere was almost electric for the children. They couldn't wait. Even though they were quite nervous, they couldn't wait to show off their designs, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was a really special event, and I think mixing with parents and children from all different backgrounds and areas of Kirklees was something that they will remember. I think those are things that we need to really celebrate. Kirklees has got a huge heritage, but it's also got massive impact for the future in terms of the innovations that they're doing and the work that they're doing. And I think we need to open people's eyes to that. I think it can be quite difficult for families to have a sense of identity and place. We've got very disparate communities, we've got very multicultural communities, and to have something that can draw everybody together and celebrate everybody's talents and everybody's joint heritage is a wonderful thing for the children and the families, and something that we should grasp hold of and make the very most of. And I think woven is something that's seamlessly going to bring people together with a joint understanding of who they are and what they can be for the future, and that's why we've got to grab hold of the festival and keep it going and build and build and build and make it even better. I think it was put together in such a short space of time last time, but was already such a positive journey for everybody and such a wonderful celebration that we can make it bigger and better year by year, I think.